Hey everybody, it's Stef with Studio Web, Killer Sites. So, is PHP the red-headed stepchild of the programming world? I'm getting that more and more and more. People are dissing PHP. PHP is being considered a subpar language. It's losing some of its mojo, at least amongst the nerd intelligentsia. And I think this is because PHP has its dirty, dark past in that it was a procedural language. It was a language that was built ad hoc on a need-to-nerd basis. And so it's a little wild in the background. So people still have this perception of PHP in terms of what it was, 8, 10 years ago. And, I used to have that opinion of PHP back in the day when I was a Java coder. I was like, I don't want to do PHP. But then a client came to me and said, listen, we built this thing in PHP. We don't want to use Java. We want to use PHP. And so I was pushed into it, kicking and screaming. And what I discovered, even back then, when PHP was relatively primitive versus today, that it was a very productive language and opened my eyes to things. I spoke about this before. One thing that I remember it popped out at me with regards to PHP is sending an email, simple as that. Now, at the time, to do this in Java with servlets, it was like a page of code. With PHP, it was one line. So it was like, okay, yeah, PHP has its downside, but man, was it efficient relative to Java. So it got me to thinking about about PHP and light scripting languages like PHP, Ruby, Python, so on. Let's fast forward to 2015. PHP is not at all the same beast. In fact, it's very different from what it was in the past. It's a far more mature language. It has all the capabilities and the paradigms of all the cool languages today, whether it be Python, Ruby, or whatnot. It has ORM layers, it has MVC framework, several to choose from. It has all these capabilities, unit testing, etc., etc., etc. Yes, it still has that old school PHP, procedural, legacy that's still there that people can use, but very few PHP coders these days code in the old PHP way. Everybody today are object-oriented MVC PHP coders, just as sophisticated as anything I've seen out there. So this whole idea that PHP is some black sheep is ridiculous. Now, I'm talking purely on the technical end of things, but when you actually get into the real world of web development, what people find, and I just got a comment put to me by somebody commenting on one of my YouTube blogs, they're discovering that too. They're learning Ruby on Rails and so forth, but when they want to do freelancing work, they're discovering everybody's using PHP. All the businesses, all the small sites, a lot of them are running WordPress. Something like 22%. I've heard different numbers, 18, 22% of websites that are dynamic, that are running WordPress, period, or some other CMS. And guess what? They're all written in PHP. So if you wanted to be able to work with these things, in terms of customization and so forth, PHP is the language, not Ruby, not Python. Sorry. Then you look at dynamic websites, and something like 80% of the dynamic websites out there today are running PHP. Not Ruby, not .NET, not Java. 80% are running PHP. So, yes, PHP has a bit of a dirty, sordid past, but it's cleaned itself up. It's quite a mature language. Let's be realistic. When I look at languages, when I look at technologies, I always look at not just the technology end of it in terms of the, what I like or dislike about how the technology itself was implemented, but I also look at the market end of things. I look at where the money is going to be, where the likely work is going to be, where the business is. And PHP meets all that. It runs roughshod. Smokes the other ones in terms of just the raw numbers. It's not 2-to-1. 80% of sites run PHP. 80%. Something like 10% run Ruby. So less than that on Python, and so on. So consider that. That being said, I have nothing against Python and Ruby. I think they're great languages. And in fact, I'm building courses slowly, beginners courses on these two languages because I think are great. And I've said it for years and years and years now. You best learn many languages. I'm not some PHP guy who's just talking my book. Talking my book is a Wall Street expression, meaning trying to sell what you already have, what you're trying to sell. Kind of like banks when they're trying to sell you mortgages, trying to tell you buy a house. It's great because that's their business. They sell loans. They want everybody to be in debt because that's how they make their money. No, I'm not selling my book with PHP. In fact, I've logged many more coding hours in Java. That was, when I was really active in coding, that was my favorite language by far. But I've done commercial apps in many languages, 8, 9 languages over the years. Stuff you've heard of, stuff you've never heard of. So I'm not some PHP zealot who's like, PHP is the best. And listen, there are things about PHP that make me go, not cool. But, when you consider all the things I just mentioned, this is not a language you should ignore. This is a language that has to be respected for what it is. Anyway, that's about it. That's my blog today for January 16th, 2015. Ciao.